Today I wanted to introduce you to some of the changes that we've made in Canvas. If you've noticed, last week there were fewer pages in the modules than there have been previously. Essentially now there are only 2 pages with a third page that is just a conclusion page that doesn't really have anything for students to do. So let me show you the difference here. In this module 16A we have taken away the introductory page, and now you just go straight into the module. You'll see here for Doctrine and Covenants 41-42 you have the pray and you have the opening song, and then you're into your 3 guided study choices. So we're quickly going into the study choices, into the scriptures, and then you don't have the buttons anymore. So you scroll down, study choice number 1, study choice number 2, and each choice is going to be differentiated by a large picture here, and then study choice number 3. They get to the bottom and then they can submit their assignment. So this simplifies things a lot. It gives you way less to read and you can get into your lesson more quickly. The second page is still the same. It's just the gathering page with a question that the class can answer together and that everybody can see each other's comments. What do you think? Is participating in seminary part of the law of consecration? Why or why not? It's kind of a fun question. You might ask that of your students even when they get into class. The final page is this Hear Him page. It's just a conclusion page that says your lesson is done. We get closure and then we can move on with our day. This week's lessons offer a lot of fun, different perspectives on sections 41 through 44. So we get these different kind of things here about discipleship. The Lord defines discipleship in section 41 of the Doctrine and Covenants. And so you get a fun little conversation going on here about what it means to be a disciple. Here in section 42, we get this popular question: is church supposed to be run by order or authority or by the Spirit? And so section 42 kind of brings the Lord's insight into this question. And then finally, the law of consecration. I would highly recommend that if students don't do this module or don't participate in it, that you have a strong conversation about the law of consecration. And I will show you in the teacher resource pages that there are some materials here to help you have that conversation on the law of consecration. One of my favorite articles is Stephen Harper's article on consecration, and so you can study that on your own. But then I would have students come in and participate and make sure that we have a clear understanding as the law of consecration becomes more discussed throughout the Doctrine and Covenants, and this is kind of where that begins. There's also another additional lesson material for your classroom in the teacher resources. Here you have a handout to help you talk about what principles are, and it gives you this case study about somebody, why they don't follow or don't go to their organized religion anymore, and you can use that scenario along with Elder Bednar's talk from last General Conference. And here are some quotes from that talk that you can just download and print out so you can hand it to your students in person, so you can share it on the screen. In the other lesson, you'll notice that there is this different perspective on boundaries. The Lord is bound. He has boundaries. And that's what makes God God. And so understanding where our boundaries start and begin or are defined is going to have a lot to do with how happy we are and how healthy our relationships are. And so as you study section 43, the Lord kind of introduces God's boundaries. And if we understand those, then we can find greater peace and happiness. In the second option here, you have this idea of testimony, and how powerful testimonies can convert and change us. But if we can't communicate or learn through the testimonies of men and women, then the Lord might turn his testimony into thundering and lightning, and how this participates in the second coming of Jesus Christ. On the third option here, you'll see that students will have a choice to listen to a personal study session with Fox Caraway, who's become a popular member of the church on the social media lines here. And it's a good little listen. And she's a great personality, so maybe students might feel more comfortable listening to her. Again, in the teacher resources, you'll see that there's some materials to help you teach this idea of boundaries. and to help your students increase their understanding of healthy boundaries. So we have the PowerPoint and a PDF that will take you through a definition of boundaries, what they are. Here's a little activity about how to define boundaries, and also how the scriptures and the Lord defines boundaries. And then you get this exercise here where you have physical structures of the church, temples, meeting houses, in the home, and how each of those are literal protections of the spiritual or the invisible boundaries that the Lord has created. And so you can ask this question and have students answer the question, what spiritual boundaries has the Lord created to protect our covenants, ordinances, and priesthood power? And see if students can come up with their own fences that the Lord builds and gates that He lets people in and out of or through. I hope you have a great week. Don't forget, as the semester ends, we need to start tightening down on reading requirements and attendance requirements, and making sure we all know where we're at and what we're doing, so that we can end strong. I know that this is an endure to the end type of time of the year, especially in the time of the history of the world, but that's what we were built to do, endure to the end. So set some good boundaries and have a great week.